Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Is Billy cheating on Sally because of his new alliance with Phyllis? According to spoilers for the Young and the Restless, Billy Abbott may have cheated on Sally Spectra, and his new alliance with Phyllis Summers may result in the end of his relationship. Phyllis and Billy's bonding sessions certainly gave the impression that the show might be moving in the right direction in recent months. At Abbott Communications, when Phyllis was Billy's right-hand woman, fans began to wonder if a cheating story was in the works. That is especially true given that viewers saw Billy in Phyllis's romantic dream and that he helped her at the clinic during the Martin Laurent lab rat storyline. However, Billy's firing of Phyllis caused Y&R to change in a different direction and caused so much tension between them. Phyllis's insatiable desire to present Daniel Romalotti Jr. her breakup with Billy was caused by a job he didn't want. Sally eventually replaced Phyllis at Abbott Communications, but Phyllis is about to enter a new partnership with Billy, which could reunite these ex-boyfriends. Billy will ask Phyllis for help going after Chancellor in the episode on July 28. Billy Flynn may believe that Phyllis is the ideal person to support him because she has already pledged her loyalty to Kane Ashby and is making progress with him. Billy isn't going to let the chaos of murder stop him from using the cane to get what he wants. Phyllis and Billy have something in common since they are both fixated on business goals that they intend to pull off no matter what. Y&R spoilers indicated that Phyllis would achieve personal and professional success prior to the start of this nice storyline. There were hints that Phyllis would finally achieve a romantic victory alongside a business victory. Could they be paired up once more now that the show is returning to the Billy and Phyllis angle? When Billy and Phyllis rush to Kane's defense during the week of July 28 to August 1, they will undoubtedly demonstrate teamwork. That will strengthen their bond, but Billy securing Phyllis once more will upset Sally. Sally will no doubt view this partnership as a disaster waiting to happen, and she may be right if Billy cheats on her. Could this be the beginning of Billy and Sally's relationship's end? Will Billy and Phyllis ever combine work and pleasure? According to the Young and the Restless spoilers, Billy and Phyllis will undoubtedly cause trouble, so keep an eye out for any new bad news. The storm brewing behind the pristine walls of Genoa City finally exploded when Billy Abbott, always teetering between loyalty and recklessness, forged an alliance with the ever-calculating Phyllis Summers. What started as a strategic move to dismantle a mutual enemy quickly turned into a volatile partnership laced with old chemistry, mutual ambition, and the kind of chaos that has defined both their lives for decades. And the collateral damage? Sally Spectra, Billy's current partner and someone who thought she had finally found stability after a string of betrayals and heartbreaks. It began innocently enough, or so it seemed. Phyllis had been plotting to expose a tech conglomerate's hostile takeover of Daniel's gaming platform, and she needed someone with power, media access, and just enough moral grayness to play dirty without asking too many questions. Billy was her obvious choice. As COO of Chancellor Winters and someone who was never too far from controversy, Billy's hands were already deep in business and scandal. Phyllis pitched the idea to him over a discreet drink at Society, her voice low, eyes sharp, dangling just enough intrigue to hook him. Sally, meanwhile, was navigating her own professional chaos. Her design business had recently been acquired by a venture firm with questionable ethics, and she was determined to maintain her creative vision. She believed she had Billy's full support. He had been her rock during recent career and personal shifts. But as Billy's late nights multiplied and his text replies got shorter, her unease grew. The man she once praised for being different from her exes now seemed to be slipping into the same shadows of secrecy that destroyed her past relationships. Billy and Phyllis grew close quickly. Their strategy sessions bled into personal conversations. Shared memories surfaced. Regret, buried attraction, unresolved wounds all began to simmer beneath the surface. They both shared the unique bond of self-destruction, always reaching too far, always blowing up what was safe for the thrill of chaos. And while Sally fought to pull Billy back to stability, Phyllis reminded him of the power that came from embracing who he really was. The first real fracture came when Sally caught a glimpse of Billy's phone screen, a message from Phyllis reading, "Same time tonight? Bring the flash drive." The phrase seemed innocuous, but her gut told her otherwise. She asked Billy about it, and he explained it away casually. Business stuff with Phyllis, nothing to worry about. But the slight twitch in his voice and the way he avoided eye contact haunted her. Phyllis, for her part, knew exactly what she was doing. She never outright set out to seduce Billy. She didn't need to. Their history, their fire, their penchant for throwing caution to the wind, she just had to lean in, a little. A touch on the shoulder lingered longer than it should. An inside joke turned into a drink, turned into another late night. And one night, in the middle of a fiery debate about their latest target's corruption, words weren't enough. Passion won. And it happened. They crossed the line. Billy woke up the next morning with Phyllis in his bed and a tornado of regret swirling in his head. It wasn't just about Sally, it was about the man he promised himself he wouldn't be anymore. He had worked so hard to grow beyond his impulses. But in that one moment, he had betrayed Sally, his own evolution, and everything he claimed to stand for. Sally knew before he confessed. She felt it. His guilt radiated off him like static. He was gentler, overly apologetic, attentive in all the wrong ways. She confronted him head-on. Sally was never one to play games. "Did you sleep with her?" she asked. Billy's silence was all the answer she needed. Her heart broke not just because he cheated but because he chose Phyllis. A woman Sally had always known was lurking, waiting for a moment to strike. The aftermath was ugly. Sally walked out, refusing his pleas, his apologies, his desperate attempt to explain that it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything. But it did. It meant everything. She had opened herself up to him, trusted him in ways she hadn't trusted anyone since her arrival in Genoa City. And he threw it all away for nostalgia, for chaos, for Phyllis. Phyllis, true to form, didn't express remorse. In fact, she doubled down. "If it wasn't me, it would have been someone else," she told a furious Summer, who had found out through the grapevine and was disgusted by her mother's involvement. "Billy is who he is. I just reminded him of that." As the city buzzed with whispers, alliances shifted. Victoria, Billy's ex and the mother of his children, was livid. Not because she wanted him back, but because she saw how far he had come and now watched him unravel all over again. Jack Abbott confronted both Billy and Phyllis, disappointed but unsurprised. "You two together are like gasoline and matches," he said. "You don't build. You burn." Sally didn't retreat. Instead, she channeled her heartbreak into something bigger. She began working with Adam Newman again, much to the dismay of her inner circle. Adam, ever the opportunist, offered support without judgment. He knew the pain of betrayal, the sting of being the collateral damage in someone else's self-discovery. They didn't rekindle their romance, not yet, but the emotional intimacy between them began to grow again, built on scars and shared survival. Meanwhile, Billy tried to salvage what he could. He ended his alliance with Phyllis, declaring that their mission had run its course. But the damage was already done. His credibility, both personal and professional, was shaken. Lily, still his business partner at Chancellor Winters, put him on probationary notice. "I won't let your personal mess drag down the company," she warned. Phyllis, ever the survivor, spun the scandal to her benefit. She pitched a new project to investors based on exposing corporate scandals, real stories from real people, she said. Her angle? Authenticity. She used her recent drama with Billy as a case study in betrayal, media manipulation, and human behavior. Some called it exploitation. Others called it genius. But no one could deny Phyllis always landed on her feet. For Sally, the road forward was quiet but fierce. She refused to let the betrayal define her. With help from Chelsea and a surprise offer from Lauren Fenmore, she began building a new fashion line, this time under her own name, with full creative control. The heartbreak hardened her, yes, but it also sharpened her. She wasn't the same Sally who had entered Genoa City full of hope and ambition. Now she was wiser, tougher, and unwilling to let any man, Adam, or otherwise determine her worth. Billy, in contrast, spiraled. Not into addiction, not into scandal, but into something worse, self-loathing. He began questioning every decision, every relationship, every version of himself he had ever tried to be. Therapy sessions resumed. Long walks alone became part of his routine. He told Jack, "I think I keep breaking things just to feel something." And for once, Jack didn't try to fix him. He simply listened. As months passed, Genoa City began to move on. But the echoes of Billy and Phyllis's betrayal lingered. Sally and Billy crossed paths occasionally at Crimson Lights, at work functions, at Chance's baby shower with Lily. Each interaction was polite but hollow. The trust was gone. And no apology could rewrite the past. In a final confrontation at Chancellor Park, under the weight of summer's fading heat, Billy tried one last time. If I could go back and change that night, I would. Not just because I hurt you but because I hurt myself too. Sally looked at him, her expression unreadable. That's the difference between us, Billy. You break things, and then regret it later. I see the cracks and fight like hell to fix them before they shatter. We're not the same. She walked away, head held high, and for the first time, Billy didn't follow. He knew that chapter was closed. And Phyllis? She watched from afar, perhaps smug, perhaps regretful, but always moving, always plotting her next reinvention. Because in Genoa City, the game never ends, it simply resets. And for Billy Abbott, the question remained, was his fall from grace a relapse or the beginning of something darker? Only time would tell. The sun had barely risen over Genoa City when the walls began to close in on Phyllis Summers. The storm she had been so meticulously hiding was about to erupt into full view, and the one person she hadn't accounted for, Sally Spectra, was ready to strike. The night before, Sally had pieced together the final parts of a treacherous puzzle involving Phyllis's manipulation, backdoor deals, and dangerous alliances. And now, in the cold light of morning, she planned to reveal everything in front of two men who had both been unknowingly entangled in Phyllis's web, Billy Abbott and Cain Ashby. It all started weeks ago when Sally noticed inconsistencies in Phyllis's sudden proximity to Billy. There was a rhythm to Phyllis's moves, a dance that always ended with her gaining the upper hand. First, she had cozied up to Billy under the pretense of a truce that came right after she publicly blasted him for his podcast's coverage of Newman Media. Then, like clockwork, she began leaning into conversations with Cain, usually when she thought no one was watching. Sally was always watching. And listening. When she overheard Phyllis making a cryptic phone call late one evening at the Grand Phoenix, her voice low and trembling with veiled authority, Sally's instincts went into overdrive. The deal's done, Phyllis whispered into her phone. Billy thinks he's calling the shots. Cain's still in the dark. But by the time this plays out, Newman and Chancellor will be eating from the same poisoned plate. Sally froze. That single statement confirmed what she had suspected. Phyllis wasn't just playing a game of social strategy. She was orchestrating a takedown, a double-sided betrayal targeting both Billy and Cain for reasons still buried. Over the next few days, Sally did her homework. She tracked Phyllis's movements, cross-referenced her digital footprints, and hacked into a hidden folder on her laptop using tricks she learned long before Genoa City ever heard her name. Inside, she found incriminating evidence, altered financial reports, confidential meeting notes between Newman execs, a recorded conversation with a masked investor from Chancellor Winters, and a drafted press release that painted both Billy and Cain as liabilities, reckless men putting their companies at risk through internal sabotage. It wasn't just a power play. It was character assassination, and it was personal. Sally needed the perfect moment to drop the hammer. So she staged one. She reached out to Billy and Cain under the guise of a mutual investment proposal and invited them to a quiet conference room at Society before business hours. Billy, always intrigued by mystery and media, was curious. Cain, though skeptical of Sally's motives, respected her business sense enough to attend. What neither man knew was that Sally had also sent Phyllis a message, an anonymous text claiming someone had proof of her collusion and would be revealing it that morning in public. Predictably, Phyllis showed up, her fiery hair wrapped in a sleek bun, her lips painted already red. She expected blackmail. Instead, she walked into a tribunal. Billy sat on one side of the table, casually flipping a pen, suspicious yet calm. Cain leaned forward with arms crossed, quiet but alert. Sally stood at the head of the room, a small tablet in her hand. When Phyllis walked in, her eyes darted around. She knew instantly that she was not in control. She tried to scoff it off. Well, is this some sort of intervention? Should I be flattered? No, Sally replied coolly. You should be worried. Phyllis gave her a scowl. You think you're clever, don't you? No, Sally said, tapping the screen. I know I'm right. She turned the tablet around, revealing a video clip of Phyllis's secret meeting with an off-screen associate. The audio played clearly across the room. Kane's predictable. He'll fall in line once Billy's discredited. I'll leak the numbers after the quarterly reports drop. It'll look like Kane withheld vital restructuring data from the board. And Billy is his own worst enemy. One quote out of context, and we let the media burn him at the stake. Billy's eyes widened, then narrowed. Is this real? Sally nodded. There's more. She played another clip this time, a manipulated memo drafted by Phyllis. It was addressed to Chancellor Winter's board, casting doubt on Kane's leadership. It implied he had misappropriated funds during a corporate transition, something Sally had already disproved with a forensic analysis, which she now slid across the table. Kane stood up, his face pale. You were going to pin that on me. Phyllis's mask began to crack. You don't understand. No, you don't understand, Sally cut in. You played both of them. Used Billy's media presence to stir distraction, while setting Kane up to take the fall internally. You wanted them both disgraced so you could reinsert yourself as the hero who cleaned up the mess. Phyllis stepped forward, desperate. I was protecting the Grand Phoenix's interests. And I was keeping Newman's legacy from collapsing under. Spare us the martyr act, Billy said, rising. His voice was sharp, trembling with anger. You wanted to sabotage us and profit off the chaos. Kane shook his head. Why, Phyllis? What was the endgame? Her lips quivered. I didn't trust either of you to protect what mattered. No, Sally interrupted again. You didn't trust anyone unless they were playing your game. You rigged the rules so only you could win. Phyllis turned on Sally, rage overtaking her. And what's your motive, huh? You just want to play Queenmaker again? You want to replace me as the power behind the curtain? Sally didn't flinch. I don't need to replace you. You already destroyed your own reputation. The room was thick with silence. Billy finally spoke. So, what happens now? Sally exhaled slowly. I'm giving you both the files. You can take it to the board, to the press you want. But one thing's clear. Phyllis's influence needs to end. Kane looked down at the printed report, his hands trembling slightly. She nearly cost me everything. Phyllis didn't beg. That wasn't her style. But her face was a battlefield of regret and denial. I tried to control the chaos, she muttered. But maybe I became it. Billy didn't offer comfort. You've been spiraling for months, Phyllis. This time, you dragged people down with you. There's no excuse for that. Sally closed her tablet. You've always accused me of being a grifter, a climber. But guess what? I didn't need to con anyone this time. I just followed the trail of destruction you left behind. As Phyllis turned to leave, shoulders stiff and eyes stormy, Sally leaned back against the table, not with smugness, but with quiet satisfaction. Not because she had brought Phyllis down, but because truth, finally, had a voice louder than manipulation. Billy and Kane stayed behind. For a moment, they didn't speak. Then Billy said, I guess we owe you. No, Sally said softly. You owe yourselves the truth. I just made sure you saw it. Outside, the morning sun cast long shadows across the sidewalk. Phyllis walked into that light, her future uncertain, her schemes exposed. And inside, a new alliance had begun, not forged by manipulation, but born out of clarity, consequence, and finally, truth. The shockwave of Sally's expose did not end in that sleek conference room at Society. In fact, it was only the beginning. After the confrontation, word of Phyllis's double-sided plot spread like wildfire across Genoa City's business and media landscape. Chancellor Winters was shaken. The Abbott family buzzed with quiet fury. And Newman Media, still reeling from other internal chaos, found itself yet again thrust into the spotlight, but this time not because of Nick or Victoria, but because of Phyllis's manipulation. As Phyllis walked out of the room, her heels clicking against the marble floor like a fading war drum, she knew she had lost the power she once held. Billy had seen her treachery with his own eyes. Kane had every reason to go to the authorities or the board. And Sally was no longer just an ambitious outsider. She was now the one who brought down Phyllis Summers, a legendary schemer in her own right. But the aftermath wasn't neat or simple. Billy's next move. Billy Abbott wasn't known for keeping things to himself. By that afternoon, he was on the phone with Jill, laying out everything he had witnessed. His mother was livid not just at Phyllis, but also at how close her company came to being damaged beyond repair by a personal vendetta. This wasn't a business decision, Billy told her. This was emotional sabotage, calculated, vindictive, and dangerous. Jill ordered a closed-door meeting with the Chancellor Winter's board for the following morning. She insisted that Sally be present to explain how she uncovered the plot. Reluctantly, Sally agreed, though she was never fond of corporate theatrics.